So it's okay that they're sad, they're mad because they didn't get what they wanted because you put your foot down. Put your foot down and don't pick it back up. So welcome to another episode of The Family Business with the Alessis. I am Mary Alessi, and I'm here with my wonderful husband, Steve Alessi.
Hello.
And I love this topic today.
Yes.
Because we like to talk about family because it's everybody's business. We know family's everybody's business, but today we're going to get into your business. About your family. Yes, we are.
It's going to get nasty.
We are going to get into a subject that might bring some controversy.
Okay.
But we don't care. We're too old to care. Thank God. I love being 55, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
Because I know what I know now.
You're alive at 55.
I'm alive at 55, and I know what I know, okay? So I love to be able to go, in my 30s, I'd say something dogmatic, and then I'd end it and go, I think I'm right. And then in my 40s, I'd go, yeah, I'm right. Now I can say, oh, don't even question me. I know I'm right. Okay. So yeah, it's probably not the best thing. I have to keep surrendering it to Jesus. But most of the time when it comes to these subjects, this particular subject, I'm pretty right.
Get
We're
into
pretty
it.
right. So we're going to talk about raising the little kids. When you are raising your children and the level of discipline that you think is either the right care or the wrong care. Did you know we were going to talk about this today?
I think so.
Okay. Because I see the look on your face. We're getting in. You and I have this conversation all the time. So this is natural.
So repeat what we're talking about.
Gentle parenting.
Oh, yes.
Versus the way we were raised.
Yeah.
Where there was a kiddie table and you sat at it.
Okay.
And today, there's so many parents that feel like that's demeaning to their children to put their children at a kid's table.
Oh, boy.
Seriously. Or gentle parenting, which means you never raise your voice and you never get aggressive with your child and everything's in a gentle tone.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see this all over Instagram and social media, and I do have some things about it that I think is wonderful, and I do agree.
Is this the same kind of parenting and that encourages trophies just for showing up at the game? Basically. Okay.
But
Not
it goes
winning or
deeper.
anything, but okay.
No, just
Go for
everybody's even, because we are so desperate to keep our children out of the sad, mad, or bad zone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I don't want them to be sad. I don't want them to get mad. And I don't want them to ever be seen as bad. And it's terrible because they're children. They're all those things. And instead of calling them out as who they are as kids, we say gentle parenting keeps them from that. Well, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are kids. They are who they are. Their brains are developed the way they're developed.
Right.
I don't care how many kids you raise, they're all the same. Yes, there's some differences between some who are a lot more strong-willed and some who are more rule followers. But at the end of the day, every single one of us in our child development years needed to know where the lines are, and we need strong discipline.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about what we see today, and we deal with, this is what our maybe our second generation, our third generation of young parents that those that we raised our kids along with when we were trying to figure it out. Then the next generation when our kids were a little older, and now might be our third or fourth pass of watching the different styles of parenting. And we're all trying to recreate, every generation is trying to recreate a better way to do it.
Okay, so can I say something to just set the stage as we go forward? We're not making fun of anybody. We're not putting anybody down. What we're going to show you is not just an Alessi's way of parenting.
No.
But there's a principle that has to be introduced to your child that is going to affect them for the rest of their life.
And yours.
Not just for the few minutes where they're sitting in timeout or in their room, not being able to go out and play with everybody else, okay? This is going to affect them and, yes, like you said, yours for the rest
of your life.
Of their and your life. So here's the principle. You said it at the end, and it's discipline.
Yeah, it's discipline.
Biblically, it says, no discipline seemeth right in the moment.
Yeah.
Okay? Nobody likes being disciplined or being disciplined.
Right.
Nobody likes being disciplined for doing something that they did wrong, and nobody likes being disciplined. This is how you live your life every day.
Right. It's hard.
Through principles.
Right.
Nobody likes that. But the way that you eliminate being disciplined in your life is to be disciplined.
Right.
You don't want to get
In trouble.
reprimanded
Right.
and in trouble throughout your life, whether it's from law enforcement or a boss or marriage. Whatever.
Right.
You don't want to be disciplined
Yeah.
in the long run. But so that means you have to figure out how to learn discipline.
Where the rules are.
And where does that begin?
That's right. As a child.
It begins as a child.
That's
and
right.
we don't leave it up to a school teacher
No.
or somebody else to do it. We don't leave it up to the grandparents.
Nope.
We don't just leave it up to one member of the family, the mom or dad. The mom and dad both look at their children and think, okay, what we're doing right now as with our young child is either teaching them how to be disciplined or it's setting them up to be disciplined.
Absolutely.
Take it away.
Well, I will say we raised 4 children. We've watched all of our friends raise their kids. We've watched a lot of different experiences of parenting around us. We've seen a lot. So we are coming from the perspective of we've had a front row seat with a very large spectrum of what to do and what not to do. And we've seen the fruit. We've seen kids grow up all the way based on how their parents train them. So we're not coming at this as parental experts per se, but we do have a lot of information. We've seen a lot. So we do come with a lot of experience. But I will say when it starts with a toddler till about 6 years old, and we see a parent that says, I just can't control them, that is not a kid issue. That is a parent issue.
You're right.
Every single time. There are not kids that are just out of control and kids that are not out of control. You didn't get one that was out of control. Now, I can say, based on when we were raising Christopher, he was a rule keeper. He was much easier to control.
Right.
Stephanie was not.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not change my parenting. I had to come in strong. It had to develop in me more discipline to know how to deal with her. So what worked with Chris, a look, if I would give him a threat, he believed me. With Stephanie, she had no fear in her. We had to inject fear into her.
Right. Christopher would be the kid that if he's up sitting on the stool and he even thought about pushing the stool back to be on 2 legs instead of 4, we'd just say, Chris,
put that down.
Put it down.
Yeah.
Sit down. He'd do it.
Right.
Stephanie would keep pushing.
Just testing us.
And just look at her chin next time you get close to her, and you'll see a little scar because she's the kid that had to learn she was disciplined by not listening.
Right.
Not listening, and we ended up having to take her to the emergency room, and they end up giving her stitches. So Stephanie same kids, same home, 2 different kids, same home, but you got 2 different kind of temperaments and personalities.
And what that meant for us is our parenting, we had to say, okay, with her, we're going to be stronger. We didn't have to be as strong with Chris, but we are going to be strong with you because that will not be something that's tolerated. She needed to know where the clear lines of discipline were a little bit more. The other 2, we didn't have that issue, but we did have one that was a little bit more strong-willed. But if they stay out of control and they're running around and you're raising a kid that other people really don't like, then that's a you problem. That's not a them problem. And I want to say this because, our church, we're a village. We are all close to one another. We help one another with each other's kids. I can talk today. But there's certain things that are missing in the next parental style. Okay, there's some phrases that are missing. And I've shared this with a few of them recently, and much to my joy, they've implemented this, okay?
Go.
They're teachable. But it's the words, I don't want to embarrass my child. So what embarrasses you as an adult does not embarrass your child. Their reaction to being embarrassed is humility, and it shows them where the lines are. So what I mean by that is, I'm not talking about humiliation.
Right.
I'm talking about speaking to your child in front of others where you warn them and you say, if you don't, I will. And then you're in a place where you have to follow through and you go, well, I don't want to embarrass them. We want you to embarrass them. They're not embarrassed.
Yeah.
You don't need to be ashamed. We want to see you do what you say you're going to do because you're going to make a better child. You're going to make a better grown adult. So right now, all the other parents are rooting for you to do it right. We're not walking away going, I can't believe she embarrassed him because she followed through and did what she said. We're walking away criticizing you, saying she said she was going to do something and she didn't do it because she was afraid. Well, I was rooting for her.
Yeah.
But I don't want to embarrass. Oh, you embarrassed my kid. Embarrassed your kid. Again, we're not talking about humiliating, making fun, bullying. That's ridiculous. We're talking about following through that we have now categorized as, well, I didn't want to embarrass them or bring shame. Truth be told, that's the posture your kids need to be in to understand discipline. They're not developing, their brains are not developed with reason and not logic. They're in the moment. That's the moment they're in. And me and Alan were talking about this before the podcast. I was telling him in the family I grew up in, when our family was all together, and my aunts and family members and my grandmother, and my parents, they're all in the kitchen cooking, and all the cousins are running around, right? If I were to run into that kitchen and wreak havoc, I'm running in for what reason? I'm just running with my cousins, and I'm not thinking. I am not thinking. And I run into a kitchen where there's heat and there's knives and there's danger, and I'm getting under my mom or my aunt's skirt, right? One time I'm going to get warned, get out of this kitchen for my own good.
Right.
If I run back in that kitchen, what am I doing? As a kid, I'm not thinking. It is my mom's responsibility, or my aunt's, or my grandmother's, and they did, to reach over and grab me, and they did, and say, look at me. Do not come in this kitchen again. Now, did I walk out as a little kid thinking, she just embarrassed me in front of my aunt and my grandmother? I'm not even processing that. My brain is not developed as a child. Children's brains aren't developed to think about embarrassment the way you think about embarrassment. I didn't walk away offended. Their brains aren't even at that level. It's called discipline and care and love. So that I knew if I run back into that kitchen, I'm going to get it if I try it a third time. But we watch this and we see this all the time. Kids that don't listen to their parents. And what is the reason that the parent does not get firm? It's because you say, okay, I'm going to count to 3. Quit counting. Quit counting.
We had to learn that early.
Stop counting. You're going to count all the way to infinity and beyond.
Yep.
You've got to stop and not worry about, I'm going to offend them or I'm going to embarrass them. Discipline your kids. Love them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not easy in a world that we are being fed, you're doing it wrong. If you would gentle parent, you would. So guess what? We see these hilarious Instacrap is what I want to call it sometimes. Reels of the poor mom with her hair in a bun and she's spent and she's trying to gentle parent when she's got kids jumping up and down in the background, screaming, not listening, with junk all over the place. Take the authority that belongs to you. You don't have to be a screamer. You don't have to be a yeller. But there are times you've got to be stern with your kids and you've got to let them know, put a little fear in them. This is the line and don't cross it.
Yeah. That's smart, Mary. Cesar Millan.
Yep.
He's got that whole phrase. I love it about, more or less good masters.
There are no bad dogs, only bad masters or something like that. Yeah,
something like that, right? Better humans, better dogs.
Better humans, better dogs.
Better humans, better dogs. It's the same thing with kids.
It is.
Kids were given to parents to be raised, not always to be celebrated.
No.
Not to be put on this shelf and made to look like they're perfect.
Or always protect them.
No.
They're overly protecting them. Yeah. It is so damaging and parents don't understand it.
Yeah. I'm afraid sometimes parents will think that they need to be easy on their kids, and it's motivated by guilt.
It is, for sure.
So sometimes it's because the mom and dad are both working.
Yeah.
So they're working full-time jobs. Their kids are being either raised by a nanny or daycare or some other school. And by the time they get home, they're feeling like, man, I need to give them so much attention that they just overdo it. They're too kind. And they let their guard down and they let the kid do what the kid wants to do. And the kid is in the wrong. But they don't want to discipline them because they feel guilty that they're not spending enough time with their kid.
Right.
And that's a temporary fix, but it's not a long-term solution.
Right.
Because the temporary fix isn't going to help your kid in the long run.
No.
Sometimes life is tough. Life isn't easy. You make sacrifices. People have to work. People have, as a family, have to learn how to sacrifice together.
Yeah.
So you teach your kid those disciplines the earlier they are, the better in the long run it's going to help them.
Right.
You may be divorced. A couple may have been divorced, and so again, guilt sets in. And a parent says, I don't want to hurt them anymore because their mother or father's not here. So you lax a little in how you discipline them and raise them up. And all of that is a short-term fix, but it's not a permanent solution. It's going to hurt them in the long run. Life's not fair. Yes, the marriage should have stayed together. It didn't. But don't compound the problem now with letting your kids get off the hook with certain areas of discipline, because what they're going to end up doing in the long run is blaming you for things that don't turn out in their life, because now you've created this monster. Sorry to say, I don't mean that in a bad way, but the world's center is just, they're the center of the world.
Yes.
And that, hey, they're going to blame you.
Right.
They're going to point the finger and say, hey, it's because my mom and dad divorced. I didn't get this particular upbringing, that particular upbringing. When what you need to teach them as a young age is, no, discipline's a good thing. No, you're not going to talk like that. When we're on this plane and we're traveling, if I say stop, you're going to stop.
Right.
If I say, color your book.
Right.
You're not going to throw crayons all over the place, and you're not going to make it bad for the person traveling next to us. When we're in a restaurant, you're not going to have a tantrum and a meltdown. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to take you to the bathroom. We're going to deal with it. I'm not going to sit there and let you get away with all of that and upset everybody else who's paying for a meal in the restaurant. I mean, you and I would not allow that to happen at all. Didn't matter. We could hardly afford going out to eat. When we'd finally go out to eat, the kids surely weren't going to mess up our time while we were eating together.
No.
They were going to be disciplined, or else forget it. We're not going out to eat, guys, and you're not going to have the fun to go over there and
eat what
hang
you
out.
want to eat. No, it's true.
No. Being a strong and fair parent requires disciplining your kids in the right way.
Yes.
When we went through the heart attack and the whole 42 book, it would have been very easy for you and for us over the next couple of months to be lax in our parenting.
Right.
Because we were so consumed with trying to get back on our own feet. But we didn't allow that to happen.
No.
We were right on point because we knew, all right, this is something. We didn't change our parenting because our life situation changed.
No.
No, we need to make sure the kids are on point here. And even though it meant, having to take our attention away from recovering, we had to make sure our kids stayed on the plane, the right plane that allows them to stay committed in the long run to being good adults.
Well, let me speak to that, because a picture of that would be this. Christopher was 15 when you had the heart attack, right? It was very traumatic. My mind is not his mind. Our brains are not. He had a 15-year-old brain that once he heard his dad was okay, he was affected. I'm not saying he wasn't impacted and he wasn't deep. It was very painful. I understand he had his effects. They weren't nearly as deep as our effects. Why? Because he was 15.
Right.
He has no way. He had no real scope of understanding what he would have lost. He didn't lose.
Right.
So in his mind, he had really not much at risk. You lived, so it was fine. It's like, okay, where's my Game Boy? Oh, good, Dad's okay. Great. Can my friends come over?
Right.
I'm sorry, but that's where kids are. And when we elevate our children to some place of in level of intelligence because of our own, maybe the mistakes we've made in our lives, we're really projecting falsely. And it puts a burden on the parent to be a psychologist. But if I say this to them, maybe they're hurting. And I say that because there was a moment, he's around about 18, and you were really disciplining him for something. And in my mind, I started thinking about my own fears. And I said to you, but maybe he's acting this way because he thought he almost lost you, and you need to go easy because maybe this is just manifesting from the heart attack. And you just need to speak lovingly and kindly and don't punish him. And you looked at me and you went, what are you talking about? He's an 18-year-old boy. I promise you, this has nothing to do with my heart attack, Mary. And I thought, it doesn't? Well, I wasn't an 18-year-old boy. Now, flip it with the girls. And I totally understood that perspective. They're not thinking about things you think they're thinking about. Our brains are more developed. We have more at risk. We're the ones that are supporting this family and understand things that they have no capacity to understand yet. So that can translate to somebody, maybe you're divorced and you are afraid to discipline your little boy because you feel guilty. Separate your guilt and discipline your child.
Yeah.
They're not thinking like that.
Yeah.
That's not in their capacity. Their brains are not wired to say, I can't believe you disciplined me after all you put me through. You left my dad or my dad left you. I am the product of a divorce. Their brains are not, that's not their process. All they're thinking about is, you won't let me play my games and I'm mad at you.
Okay. So help the parent who has been lax and now says, all right, I need to get a little bit firmer here.
Yeah.
What should they be expecting? Besides hell.
Yeah. But besides about a month of it being difficult, I promise you, it will lead you to a much sweeter place in your child. First of all, don't be afraid. Step out in the authority that's yours. We were talking about this earlier, that gentle parenting is not being used by the right people. Gentle parenting should be used by people who are like, look, I lose my cool. I need to be a gentle parenter.
Right.
The average person is already a gentle parenter. We don't need that skill. We're already too lax. Don't see your child as somebody who's going to be crushed under the weight of your correction.
Right.
They're going to respond to it. They're not going to like you for a minute, but when you are in a position where your kids don't like you because you're making a stand, you're finally being a parent. That's what a parent does. Yeah. That's what parents get. They're mad at me. Good, I'm being a parent. But if I try to keep my kid out of the mad, sad, or bad zone, that's a mistake. So it's okay that they're sad, they're mad because they didn't get what they wanted because you put your foot down. Put your foot down and don't pick it back up. You can do this. Mm-hmm. Then ask God for help. Ask for resources around you. Listen, I don't think, except maybe I can count on one hand, parents that have actually come to me and said, will you help me? Because you've described Stephanie. I have a 3-year-old. Sounds a lot like how Stephanie was. What should I do? And I'll tell them, okay, I'm going to tell you what you got to do, but are you willing to do it? Mm-hmm. You've got to put a little fear in that child. Yeah. You don't have to strike them. No. You don't have to get physical. You just have to be authoritative and strong and keep your word. Follow through. There used to be a show on TV about this nanny that would come into your house and deal with these out of control kids. Amazingly, in 24 hours, she had control over kids that parents couldn't get under control for years. Why? Because they knew she was going to set some rules in place and she meant them. Yeah. So you're going to have some tantrums. You're going to have some fights because your kids aren't used to you putting your foot down. That's okay. Do the hard thing. Let them be sad. Let them be mad. Too bad. I am not going to buckle. And even if they act badly, don't give up. Don't change course.
It's going to be bad for a while.
It's not going to be easy.
You're having to change your style, and you're seeing, all right, you've probably, as a parent, if you've been the more laxed in this area, you're probably already picking up on things that you wish you weren't, that you didn't get on earlier.
Yes.
So,
but you can always turn that around.
You can turn it around.
Absolutely.
But just like you're seeing it, and once you start to change it, your child's going to respond and say, wait, how come I don't have this liberty anymore? Why are they being more on top of me. So they're going to kick the system.
Right.
They're going to buck up against you. And remember, you're not your kid's friend. I
No.
don't think you should go there with the mindset thinking your kids have to like you,
No.
like you're their friend. They're going to love you in the long run. Right now, they're just going to be uncomfortable with the new set of standards that you have put around them.
Yep.
Now, you and I have seen people make this adjustment because raising kids, what we learn is they don't come with a manual.
No.
Just like marriage doesn't come with a manual. A lot of this stuff, it's OJT, you learn on the job while you're doing it. So you make some adjustments, made some changes. We've seen couples do it. We've seen their kids respond, which is why when you and I were talking about this, okay, we see how it's changed the kids' behavior.
Absolutely.
Not just the behavior of getting, being more, less disruptive or less bratty. No, we've seen a confidence. There's confidence in a child that is raised with discipline.
Right.
They learn discipline. They are better. They're happier. They're more secure when they are disciplined.
Absolutely.
So we're not just talking about them being, okay, they're finally a good kid to be around while you're doing something and they're not disrupting you. No, they're actually fun to be around.
Yeah.
Because they feel better about themselves.
That's right.
And they've learned respect that comes with discipline.
Yes.
So we're trying to help parents see that this aspect of parenting your kid is going to raise a better child for you in the
Absolutely.
future. And you're going to sit back one day
100%.
and say, man, hey, I'm really proud of what we've accomplished here.
And your kids
Yeah.
will think you're the best parent in the whole
They
wide
will.
world, because they're going to see all the other kids around them as life goes on whose parents don't enforce the rules and watch people get away with things because nobody disciplined them. And they're going to look at you and say, thank you for being the parent you were. You didn't let me get away with that. That is instilled in us. It's in the bedrock of who we are. We want someone to not let us get away with things.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have unruly seasons in our development. But when there's someone that's alongside of us, a parent that says, I'm not going to let you get away with that because I love you, that changes everything. It builds character. It builds confidence. It builds security. There's someone watching over me that is going to tell me where the line is and what I am not allowed to cross. And I just want moms and dads, these younger parents, to feel confident. They can do it. They don't need gentle parenting Instagram reels to learn how to raise their kids. Those children belong to them. They don't belong to the system. They don't belong to society. They don't belong to the government. They don't belong to the school system.
Nope.
Those children are yours. To get to them, they got to go through you. And so you can create the most beautiful experience, still chaotic when your kids are small, a lot of screaming.
How many years? What are you putting up with on this chaos?
I think by the time a kid's 6 years old, if you do it right, it's awesome.
Yeah.
After 6, you can sit around the table and laugh and giggle and have kids that listen to you. Not perfect. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. But that crazy tantrum, fighting, the kids that nobody wants to be around, by the time they're about 6 years old, all that's settled down. They know who they are. They're trying to be one with society. They're finding their friendship circles. They're finding the environments they work well in. And they are coming to you for safety and for wisdom, and even at 6 years old. But when we let that 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old out of control, I don't want to enforce the rules. Well, then you won't have a 6-year-old. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
They don't grow out of that.
Yeah.
You have to help them grow through that.
Yep.
And set the parameters in the home. Plus, it makes you feel like as a parent, you're doing your job. You're loving your kids the right way. So don't feel like maybe this skill was not given to you. Maybe you came from a family that there weren't a lot of rules or disciplines because you were at mom's for the weekend and you were at dad's for the next weekend. That's tough on kids.
Yeah.
And we understand that. It's if you weren't given the skill, it's very hard to use the skill. You don't have it.
Right.
But in today's society, listen to this podcast, It's in you. It is innate in you. Because if you parent with guilt, or you parent with shame, or you parent with your child is somehow smarter than all the other kids, you're not going to like the results.
Yeah. Well, moms, dads, you can do this.
Yes, you can.
You just be careful what voices you're listening to.
Yeah.
People that do not share your same values should not be people that you take advice from in this area. People
right.
that haven't done it.
Right.
People that haven't raised kids that you like being around. Should if you don't like being around somebody else's kids, then don't adopt their parenting style. But look for role models that have raised kids, not are raising, have raised kids over a period of time where now they are adults pouring back into society.
And don't listen to experts out there that don't have children.
Okay. That goes right in line with what I'm trying to say as I'm closing my
I'm so sorry, but I want to just throw that out there.
And
yes, go ahead,
interrupted
close.
by my wonderful
go
wife
ahead and
that
close.
I'm going to discipline when we're done with this.
Stop.
But so do that. Find the right kind of voices to listen to and lock into this thing for the long haul. You're raising children. That's a long process.
Yep.
Don't give more attention to raising your dog than you do your own kids. Come on, you can do it and do it right and parent them in a way that is teaching them how to be disciplined throughout their life. It's going to pay huge rewards for you in the long run. We hope you've enjoyed our podcast, spending our time together with us as we have been talking about raising kids, and we look forward to seeing your kids in a very happy and healthy environment.
Hey there, if you enjoyed this episode of the Family Business Podcast with the Alessis, then you'll want to know we've got more insight, more encouragement, more great conversations that we can have on Sundays, and even some surprises coming your way. So you want to make sure you subscribe to our channel and watch one of these next videos here next, because remember, family is everybody's business.